What's up, everybody? This is the Dormant Supply of Bitcoin video. I want to go over what this is. This is an incredibly valuable illustration of accumulators and Bitcoin holders and what they're doing. Kind of an insight into what they are doing and what that means for the top of bull markets and the bottom of bear markets. It's a phenomenal signal. But I want to, before we dive into it, mention something. We should never use one indicator as kind of like this decision maker type of data. There's at any given time so many other things going on, right? All the other on-chain data, but all the other indicators, even macroeconomic factors that are playing into markets. So even this current signal, as I do the video, it's a 70. Maybe you're watching this and we're more towards like the lower risk areas of a bottom of a bear market. But either way, right now it's a 70 and it's saying it's a higher risk. That does not mean, in my view, that, hey, time to sell everything. That's not what that's saying, but we're getting some nice indicators. So let's talk about what this is and kind of explain what I mean. First things first, in green is the dormant supply chart for Bitcoin. So when this is climbing to the upside, basically it usually means that Bitcoin is in this kind of calm before a bull market storm. And that's because the dormant supply for Bitcoin in wallets is increasing. People are becoming more comfortable holding. And we're going to talk more about that. I want to point something to your attention because this is just epic to me. The guys just implemented this show historical signals where you can change this, and you see these on-chain metrics everywhere. A bunch of different platforms pulling in the same exact on-chain metrics, but many of the charts look the same. I don't think this is out there anywhere. So this is pretty custom for Crypto Capital Venture Intelligence users. But you can see we've turned this into kind of this heat map for dormant supply, for the dormant supply chart. And that is incredibly useful as a visualizer. And as we actually work through this and describe what's happening here. So let's turn that back to green just for now and let's explain what's happening. So dormant supply measures the percentage of total Bitcoin that hasn't moved in at least 1 year. So think of it as Bitcoin in deep hibernation. Coins sitting quietly in wallets while owners resist the urge to trade. That's what's going on. So, and we just kind of looked at that, right? Coins are sitting in the wallets and this is just increasing. Now, why does it matter? When lots of Bitcoin goes dormant, it signals two important things. Holders are confident in not selling, less Bitcoin supply is available for trading. And we can just very simply go up here. Let's just zoom in, right here and just look at this. It's bottoming out during a bear market. So we get this bull market top, and notice what was happening in the middle of that bull market. It starts falling, but then we're starting to kind of get closer to the bear market bottom. So all in this bear market, right? People just start accumulating. And as they're accumulating, people are like, I'm just going to start sitting on my Bitcoin now. The price is just getting cheaper. And then we capitulate. And by the way, here's a nice illustration of why the time and other data is important. This was 2018 bear market low, for instance. I remember covering crypto back then. And this was tariff fear. This was bear market fear and Bitcoin capitulating. You see here, $3,200. But look what's happening even going into that capitulation. People are becoming more comfortable holding. They're like, you know what? We've fallen so much. We were at 20,000. Now we're at like 6,000. I'm accumulating. I'm holding. It's all good. We even capitulate, and it's still, it just keeps going because people are becoming more comfortable. They're holding. And that is a very nice signal of a bear market bottom when that starts happening. And guess what happened? We had a nice exit of the bear market there. You can see we price going up, and this kind of levels off. But notice, that wasn't even the beginning of the next bull market, right? This dormant supply continued to make a move to the upside. And then what did that lead us into? That next bull market. And that's how it works. And it's a very nice illustration. And then halfway through the bull market, guess what? This starts falling. Let's activate the heat signal. Check it out. Look at this. So we were just looking, well, actually that's 2015. Let's kind of go where we were just looking. The 2018 bear market low. Let's go right here. So you can see all this higher risk down here, red color, but then it starts cooling down. it starts just kind of cooling down right into the bear market bottom. What a good signal. And you can kind of zoom out and just see that story playing out multiple times. Look at this bottom back here, and this was 2015. It was, you know, the top back here, yellow colors, orange, and then look at how cool this got. A signal of 13, 12, and it cools down, and just such a nice bottom of a bear market indicator. Let's go to where we are right now, because I think it's useful to look at this, especially because things are happening right now on the Bitcoin charts, even in altcoin markets, that are just very different than any other cycle. The consolidation that Bitcoin has been continually going into, as opposed to in these parabolic bull runs in times past, is very different. I want to change this back to the just the regular Dormant Supply chart. You can see this kind of peaking back here, and really January 2024 starts falling. What I find interesting, and this is going to take a little bit of time to play out, I think it's interesting that started falling January 2024. That was when the Bitcoin ETFs were approved. But notice what's happening with Bitcoin as this is falling. Bitcoin on that, if you look at the white line, I think this was 8 months of consolidation, basically. Tons of consolidation right there for Bitcoin price. And then we make another move to the upside, as you see the white line in price, and you can see Dormant Supply starts falling. And then we go into that consolidation. It starts going up again. Just completely different consolidation pattern than previous cycles. And that's something right now that I'm very curious to keep my eye on. If we change this over to the signal now, check it out. It's becoming a little bit darker in color. You can see, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, we're at a 70, right? But I want to keep your attention to something. Bitcoin was around 68, 69, 70 in September 2017, right? So right here, that did not mean bull market's over. And so that is great insight for where we are in the cycle, because remember, not only this data point, but things like quantitative tightening, apparently, hopefully soon coming to an end or winding down. M2 money supplies have been a big indicator that people have been watching on a global liquidity perspective. That's been increasing. There are things and factors that are saying, hey, the bull market might be continuing. And even if we look at this chart in 2017, it's hitting a 70, which yes is high. Notice it was not the end of the bull market. If we go and zoom in at that moment in September 2017, look how much higher it went. I mean, we're looking at a 72 at $3,100 Bitcoin, and Bitcoin still went up to 19,000. That says a lot in terms of Bitcoin. So that is the dormant supply. Now, just to sum things up very nicely, it works like this. The buy signal, just to get to it. When dormant supply rises or reaches high levels, holders are locking up coins. This conviction often coincides with the best accumulation opportunities. Sell signal. When dormant supply drops sharply, long-term holders are moving coins to exchanges. This awakening activity has historically preceded major market tops. But keep in mind, we just brought in some context to this entire thing. It didn't necessarily mean, in context to maybe a 70 score, the bull market's over, right? And what's awesome about something like a Bitcoin chart is we have cycles, multiple cycles worth of data to go back and kind of study these things. Lastly, on this chart, I want to mention something. We have a convergence, divergence area. When you're on any given metric, you can basically find other charts that have, hey, there's some, or not convergence, confluence and divergence. You can say, hey, there's confluence here, and let me go see where there's their divergence. And here we are, like MVRV score, and that'll take you over to that chart, and you can kind of check that out. But that is dormant supply. And in context of what's happening with Bitcoin even right now, incredibly useful and valuable information. And it's a great tool and indicator to use to kind of spot bear market lows, bull market tops, or at the very least, prepare for those scenarios. So that is dormant supply. I hope you enjoyed this video. I will see you in the next video. God bless.